Third session of the day. Let's see you do it, okay? Stand your operating, please. So we'll work from mount today. And mount is one of those positions that is kind of simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. And we'll just assume that we're starting in mount. And if our partner's trying to bridge, they have their feet on the ground. Now, the biggest mistake I see with mount is exactly what Max was talking about, which is if I have an underhook and his elbow is below his shoulder, then if I'm getting bridged in this direction, I have to cross once and it's not a very good time. So just in general, I think a really good rule of thumb is if we have taken out and we just lose our underhooks or they're in out to start with, just posture up straight away. We can't get kicked if we're postured up. The only kipping escapes happen when I'm trying to cross face and he can start pumping me around because all my weight is on my elbows while I'm trying to attack cross faces. So posture up to hand fight. When we're hand fighting, we'll just go nice and slow. If the hands are disconnected and his elbows are in really tight, then we should be able to start attacking the grips. So you've probably all seen this one before, but let's just refresh it. So we go cross grip, palm up, and we're just locking out this time. So now, I might not get very far with this, but just as I lean my head over the top of that shoulder, he's very likely to start hand fighting here. And now his other hand has come a little bit further away from his body. So we can go again, cross grip, palm up, and we can start getting his arms further and further away from his body. So as soon as we get one of the hands hit like outside the line of the shoulder, we can pin it to the mat, and then we can same side. When we're here, we just want to keep our arm locked out and weight over the top of this hand. So now we can think about getting the elbow above the shoulder. Very likely that Dave's trying to pull his elbow back to his body. So when he's doing that, we just lean our weight on that wrist. And then as soon as he gives up or he thinks about something else, like he's tickling or whatever, then we just hop it up a little bit. Now, this is where we can start to bring our weight down a little bit. And it's much harder for someone to bridge if the back of their head is off the mat. So if I bring my elbow, like my wrist to my shoulder and my elbow towards my chest, it's a lot harder for him to bridge here. So now we can cup the elbow and we can start making that elbow go in a straight line, depending on their shoulder mobility, straight above their head, right? So now we can get an underhook on the same side and then we just want to consolidate one underhook. So from here, I can reach for the side of the net. And now I have one underhook and I'm controlling his head with the same side, and that leaves us free to work on the other arm. So we'll just do a couple of different ways of getting this one arm up and then we'll deal with the second arm. But the first one, pretty easy, we're cross gripping until we can get the hand outside the body and then we can team up on it here. So if the hands are disconnected, that's a great option. If the hands are connected, then it's a lot harder to get that initial cross grip. Not to say we can't do it, we might be able to push and pull or separate the hands a little bit and force them into these patterns. But if the hands are connected well, then we can put one hand on the mat, and when we dig our wrist underneath the elbow and we keep our elbow locked into our hip, I want to pull his elbow straight to his forehead. So I'm not trying to go super deep where it's hard for me to take my hand out and post it as necessary. I just want to keep my wrist close to his ribs, and I start using my whole body to bring his elbow to his forehead. Once I bring his elbow to his forehead, I just start covering it with my chest, and now we can consolidate that position where their bicep is touching the side of their head, and we have this big deep cut on the neck here, right? And people always say, oh, sometimes I slip when I do this, like if they does a little wiggle and I slip underneath that, doesn't matter, we didn't lose anything at all, right? Whereas if I've gone super deep and I'm trying to bring it up and he does a bridge or whatever, I might lose everything, yeah? So, just practice those two things nice and quickly, we'll just get a little bit of blood pumping. Elbows in, hands separated, we can try any kind of hand fighting, but we're just trying to zigzag his hands away from his body, so that when I eventually get the hand outside the line of the shoulder and I pin it, then we can same side pin. So here, as long as we're heavy on this, we can start coming under the head and lift your wrist to your shoulder just to make it miserable for him, and then we can start hopping this one out until we can cup the tricep, we can bring our underhook in, and then we're trying to get good control and consolidate this bicep to the neck, right? And the second option, which is a little bit different, but we're not going so elbow deep, we're just trying to go wrist. So if Dave's trying to keep that elbow to his ribs here, by coming up, it's much harder for him to stop it. We can cover it with our chest, and we get to a good underhook dominant position. Yeah? So let's just warm up with that and take it nice and easy. Let's go. We have two different types of escapes we want to deal with, right? So if those feet hit the ground, it's probably active here. Then if we can get one elbow up above the head, we can work on the second one. But a very common situation is somebody tries to knee elbow escape, particularly when we're sitting upright. They can't really kick us, right? We're just riding it. And just a note on that, oftentimes if you just have your hands on top of their hands, then when Dave does a big bridge and goes whichever side, he just kind of pins his hand for you, right? So I do that to people all the time. As long as his hands aren't on top of mine, I'll just wait here, right? And they feel like they have to do something. And everybody from white belt to black belt goes, oh, I should probably bridge, right? And when they bridge and they go whichever direction, their hands are already coming outside their body, so you'll get really good pins like that. It's just a tricky one. So if he's knee elbow escaping, so he has forearm across the hips, and he's got his other elbow on the inside of my knee. We just try and tuck our feet underneath to make it hard for him to catch our foot. And then this is a really, if you guys don't watch the YouTube channel, that's some tricks more involved in. You're missing out, like, just watch that stuff. But here, I want this hand to be able to flat that underhook the wrist whatever. So if I use like a cross face, and I come underneath the head and kind of walk his head away from me and lean weight on his hand, then I can make it worse by putting my elbow underneath his shin, just turning him away a little bit. But now, it's very hard for him to turn on his side and get a elbow escape. And because there's a little gap here, we can usually just start giving our underhook and start working the elbow up. So again, it might take a little bit of time to do. There are lots of pummeling games you can play here where Dave tries to pummel his hand in, and I just look to catch it, look to pin it, look to get my chest down, pick up the elbow, whatever it takes, just to like get back to our underhook up, right? So it might take a little bit, but almost everybody, if they can't kick and they can't bridge, will turn on their side. They've got forearm on the hip and knee, so elbow inside the knee. So if we just cross legs and move their head away a little bit and drop this elbow down, it's pretty uncomfortable and they can't really turn on their side anymore. So let's assume we get a pretty good bite at our underhook, and we can walk it up like we normally would, because it's a little bit harder for him to bridge while his face is turned away. So we can put a hand on that, we can keep our elbow nice and tight, and we get to a spot where we were before, where we have one underhook up, and we're cupping the head, and we're pretty happy. So now let's work on this forearm across the hips. So when that forearm is across the hips, we've got two main ways of getting rid of it. One is if I can push his elbow across my body, that's the simplest option. You can't really bring my hips down anymore, and we're in a good position. If I can't push his elbow across, then usually that's because he's sticking his elbow out a little bit like in resistance to this. So then we can punch our elbow in, and we can take two underhooks. Then we just want to get them up to a spot where both elbows are above the shoulder, and you can pretty much do whatever you want to. You can go over some options. But with this forearm across the hips, sometimes people have trouble pushing the elbow. I'll get a good underhook here. Cupping the head and making sure the elbows, the bicep is stuck to the head. So if I can push this elbow across, it might help to push into them first and almost get them to push back, and then we can slide it across. Or alternatively, we can bring the back of our hand underneath their tricep and walk our fingers across the chest to start bringing the elbow across the body. They might do a big circle here, but then we're catching our underhook anyway. Or failing those, if the elbow is too wide, we just punch our underhook. So here we can walk them up. And once we have two elbows above the head, much harder for them to escape, much easier for us to attack. So, one more time. Person on the below with knee elbow escaping. Get our turns on the side. So depending on how much you like your training partner, you might want like get their head moved across, and once you have weight on his hand with your fingers pointing in the direction you want his head to turn, we can make it pretty hard for him to get on the side. Now we can start doing one underhook, walk this up. Doesn't matter if you try to pummel it in front, you just try and keep it hugging your own elbows. And once we hug his neck here like this with his arms stuck to his head, it should be pretty good. Now we might need to reposition a bit. He's probably bumping around a little bit, right? We just kind of keep that toes tucked in under the body. So we just need to get this arm either all the way out or all the way across. So I might push into him, and and then drop my hips back and push that arm across in a good spot, gift wrap, etc. Or we can use the back of our forearm to bring the elbow across, or we can pummel a second underhook and walk them up into a really good spot. So start with the knee elbow, this cross face, and then go from there. Cool. There. So we've got two underhooks. We're hugging this elbow to elbow spot, and like there's good smothers here as well, but no, not you. So now let's just go over a gift wrap, okay? So let's make sure we have our gift wrap pretty good. Always want his elbow across the body. Often people are trying to push you away or something here anyway, and they bring themselves into a spot where we have our shoulder on the outside of their elbow, and we can start looking for the gift wrap. Right? When we get to this gift wrap position, I would say while you're hedging your bets, just re-pick up this elbow on the bottom. Right? Because if Dave wants to turn, he's going to tuck that elbow underneath him. And there's nothing wrong with going for the back here. But I'll bet there's a lot of times where you're taking the back on someone crafty and they spin out of it. So, for example, if I rush this and I don't have a good chest to back connection, then when I do it, even a pretty good chest hit, Dave can keep turning, or right? And he starts turning. So even if my bottom hook is in, we're not really controlling that top shoulder very much. So let's say we have our gift wrap, and let's just pick up this for security. So now we're keeping him where we want him. So to turn our partner on their side, we can pull the hand underneath the head and we straighten our arm and we use our knee behind the back. So we've got a pretty good wedge stopping him from falling over, and we can put our chest down. Now is where we can start letting go of this, because I've got a much better chance of getting my chest to the back. But once I do get my chest to the back, instead of going for our chest hit, we can go, instead of a gift wrap, we can go for an elbow back. So if I push this in and I reach through for the tricep, then now we've got another turn that we can make our partner go through. This arm is probably what's stopping him from rolling over. So if I pull this elbow towards his body, now I want him to turn over, and I straighten this bottom leg so that it's in line with his other leg, then here with my chest behind the top shoulder and me pushing both of his elbows towards his solar plexus here, I'm trying to go this way. Right? So now they should be not very happy. You're making friends, and we can pick up the head and start looking away. You won't get like a perfect choke straight away, but they're not having very much fun. You'll probably get this hook in, definitely. You can go over some like right stuff. Anytime he tries to bring that left knee underneath him, we can throw that second hook in. They're all bringing belly out. We're going to be pretty happy from it. So something I always tell my students is, don't take the back, make them give you the back. Right? So if we get halfway through that and they go, I don't want to go belly down, I'm just going to turn, then sure, we take the back, happy days. Yeah. So let's just go from like a pretty stock standard. We can pull this arm across, we can use our chest, we can whatever. We get to our elbow under the head in gift wrap position, keeping this bottom elbow for now for security. So my feet always tucks in, and I'm pulling the hand underneath the head, straightening my elbow. Using my knee behind him to keep him up on his side here. Now I want some chest to back. So I bring my chest over this way, and I start using it just to keep him on his side here. My right hand is blocking the elbow, and I can reach past it and get a nice grip on his tricep. So when I tuck this elbow in towards his hips, we could even be meaner and put it underneath our knee here as well. But now his arm isn't stopping him from rolling over anymore. I just need to straighten his leg so that his whole body is just like a log here. When I tuck this elbow towards his chest and I project my chest forward, this is where we should end up. Yeah. And now we're pretty happy here. Yeah. One more time. So let's say we've got two underhooks. We can get to our gift wrap. We want to keep this as security, but don't worry, if you forget about it. We pull the wrist under the head, turn them up on that side. Make sure we get chest to back as a good stopper. We can always chase the back if need be. Now we're blocking the elbow so that we can reach nice and deep through. Then we want to start making it into a lob. And now we're tucking the elbow and coming forward into a really good belly down position. Good. Then we've had Tommy Everett teach the arm triangle from mount before really well, so I won't go over that now. What we'll do is we'll do a little bit of a they freak out before we belly them completely out. We take the back, and then I'll do a little bit of like hand fighting from the back side. So let's say we have our gift wrap, and you know I'm trying to be mean about it, and I get my chest behind the top shoulder. Maybe he feels this coming, or he just, you know, I need points or whatever, and we start chesting it to the back. So when we chest it to the back, we make sure we have our chest behind the top shoulder first. If we do have our gift wrap, I like to use this wrist in the elbow, and that just keeps him on his side. From here, when I bring my left knee up just about shoulder height, and I keep my elbows close to my hips, I make sure when I sit on my butt and I fall to my side, I'm ready for that rotation that we didn't want to happen. So when we're here, my hand comes to the bicep. When I have the bicep, at least he's not turning really fast, and then I can bring my knee to his armpit and I can grab the side of my knee. So with my underhook on the bottom, don't be too worried about reaching for his hand, because I see a lot of people, when the defender starts extending his arm, they chase it like this. And even if I still have his hand, but my elbows come away from his ribs, then when he moves his shoulders to the side, it's much harder for me to stop. Whereas if I have my elbow on the bottom, really close to my ribs, and my hand and knee connection controlling both shoulders, I feel pretty good here, and then we can figure ourselves out. So just a little, make sure they're not spinning too fast when you do the chest sit, and that happens by good chest to back connection, basically more than the first and then the other. So then we have this foot across the hips, and we go to lock up our body triangle. I know it's not easy for everyone, but if I put my top foot on the hip and I chop my bottom heel across the ribs as perpendicular as I can, if I can grab my shin, I want it quite high in the ribs. Now when it comes to putting really good body triangle pressure on, think about pointing your knee, just like we're finishing a triangle. Like when I pinch my knees together, that should be painful. And then when I lock it up and keep my knee turned in, right? So when I'm like this, there isn't that same compression. And if I'm low on his hips, I'm just squeezing his hip bones. Whereas if I can chop this up and then bring my knee in, like internally rotate it, and then lock it, which I'll let it go, but this knee pointed down makes it much harder for me. So we have our underhook on the bottom and our choking hand on the top. Let's just get this position here so that we can figure out a couple of little choking details, and then we'll go from there. So let's chest it back, take butt. Done good. Here. Chest it. We've got the gift wrap. Pulling the hand under the head, making sure he's not disappearing on us. Getting our figure four grip, using this, we're not even going to figure four, using this wrist and the elbow to keep him on his side. So now I'm trying to get chest to shoulder connection. Like I want chest to back before I start chesting. Again, if I straighten his bottom leg out, easier to turn him chest to the mat, better for me to get chest to back. So now when I come up and I bring my elbows in tight and step across his hips, I'm ready to get my knee under his armpit and his hand inside here. You could sit like this as well, right? We're just preventing that straight away. So now, hands and knee, elbow tight on the bottom, and we have it here in chest position. Does anybody want to see that again? Yeah. Sorry. Last session of the day, we really take it slow. So, gift wrap. Getting to our forearm in the wrist to try and get our good chest to back connection. Left knee slides up, right foot steps up, staying nice and low. Now we can preemptively stop shoulder rotation if we want as well, right? We can cup the wrist and we can cup the tricep so that now when I sit on my butt and fall sideways without my back touching, my knee comes under his armpit and any connection here should make it hard for him to rotate. If we want to upgrade our body triangle, we chop, internally rotate our knee, and and lock it up with our knees this way. Cool. That's it. And we're going for altitude martial arts. So when we're here, putting one hand on top of hand, and one is most of that. So a really good way to think about this is you can go across through it, you can do all this straight back and stuff. I don't do that too much. I just want my elbow in front of the shoulder to stop me rotating a little bit, even if I have a belly triangle, I have to be careful of that. And then my bottom hand, grabbing the fingers, keeping it tucked. I don't want too much about that. The best way to get this hand on top of his hand is he's holding onto my wrist. It's just going to pull it back where you can't see it, and then we can come over the top, and now my hand is on top of his head. So if I bring my head pretty much chin on top of his head, then when I punch his hand down and put my elbow in line with his chin, we can let go of the hand, and I know I'm going to bring this race to his shoulder. I don't have to get all the way to the underneath the chin, I just want to get to the shoulder. So now, if I can keep bringing my hand in, okay, and if we ever can do that, we're looking to build up on our bottom elbow and snap it, yeah? If we can't get our hand all the way in, we can just grab the shoulder. When we let go of this other hand, we have to address my shoulder. Otherwise I keep feeling it. So now, I'm going to pull this hand up, I bring my elbow above my shoulder and make this little screwdriver, and then we can start bringing our knuckles underneath our wrist. So here, while I lift his head up, I'm just hiding my choking hand, so that when I let go of his shoulder and grab my own tricep, I can keep feeding my elbow in deep. And now it's pretty hard for him to get to what is my now choking hand, and we should be able to handle whatever we need to do to lock it up. Yeah? So this is the most common thing I do. One little detail on this is, even if he has his hand on top of my hand, then when I throw my elbow down, so Dave's holding onto my thumb line, right, this stops me coming in this way, right? He's got a pretty good ability to stop me coming in. If I can put my elbow in front of his chin and turn my palm up like a karate chop, then I should be able to let go of that grip, right? So I have my underhook on the bottom, I'm trying to choke it, he's pulling my thumb line down. If ever my hand is free, we just keep like crawling, right? So when he starts grabbing my hand, he's only got my thumb and my fingers to grab. So I let him start pulling my hand down, but I pull my elbow in front of the chin. And when he's trying to pull my thumb down, if I can turn my hand up, now it's much harder for him to hold on, and we can do this like chop. So if we can, we get our hand in nice and deep, we build up on our bottom elbow, and palm to palm, the best way to finish these ones when we have a body triangle, because even if I'm not doing a very good job with my arms, most of the time, like I'll keep my arms at like 30%. If I just use my hips now, yeah, we'll get taps, right? I don't even have to fall back and fully send this. If you just extend your hips and your back, yeah, you get lots of taps. So, if we wanted to practice our swapping choking hands, when we're here, he's defending well, but he can't quite get to my thumb. I'm coming elbow above shoulder to help me feed this hand in, so that I can get my wrist underneath my wrist. And now I just lift my elbow a little bit. From here, I keep wiggling my hand under my palm, just hiding my now choking arm, and grabbing my tricep. Then we can start pulling this elbow all the way through until our elbow's in line with the chin, and it should be pretty hard for him to find his hand, and we can fold it off, palm straight, wrist over wrist for our normal, and then we can finish the shot. So one more time. We've got underhook on the bottom, good control of the bottom wrist. He tried choking, and he's covering my hand. He's got my thumb in my hand. So with my head on top of his head, I should still be able to punch my elbow in front of his chin, karate chop across, for either build up on my bottom elbow, gable grip, and big hip extension, or he starts fighting the hand, they come underneath, lifting, hiding our choking hand, and then we can hand fight to get to the finish. Cool, let's go. So if Dave's me elbowing his head, he's turning on his side. This is really good. I like this one we want to stay in now. If I But we can also go for a guillotine. So instead of going across crossface, I'm going to try and dive my shoulder to the back of his pack and get a nice wrist underneath his Adam's apple, underneath his chin. So I get my shoulder in and then I punch my wrist in here. So now he's already turned on his side for us. I just tilt a little bit to get my calf or heel on the lower back. I always keep the back of my head on the mat and my shoulder towards the back of his neck, and I just hollow my body out slightly. Now I grab the blade of my hand. I pull my hands up to my face, rolling my watch underneath his Adam's apple. But then the key detail to this one is to try and move your hips down and move your ribs to your elbow. Right? It's not going to be very nice. It's kind of like a north-south trick, right? Most guillotines, we're pulling our hands to the middle, whereas this one, and same with the north-south, we're moving our ribs to our elbow this way. But this is kind of like low on time, down on points. You just want to go for it a little bit. When he's turning on his side, he's got this forearm across the hips, really to hollow my body out. So I want to get, I'll just do it like this, I want to get my watch right underneath his chin. So that when I push his head down and then squeeze it all, I'm closing everything up and folding his neck on my watch. So when I punch in my wrist underneath the chin and I stay really tight, I can use my hand to grab the blade of my hand. So I'm just grabbing like this. And then I'm rolling my watch underneath his neck. So then when we're here, I'm just flattening my hips down the same way that you would lift your hips up for a guillotine from guard. And I'm pulling my hands to my chin, and then I move my ribs to my elbow.